How narcissists are made. The science behind the mask. Not a label, not an insult. This is about how a pattern gets built long before adulthood. Narcissism is not always self-love. Sometimes it is self-protection. It can look like too much love for the self, the confidence, the charm, the control. But often it's the opposite, not an abundance of self-love, but a lack of safety underneath it, a structure built to protect a feeling that was never allowed to exist. Protection first, self-love second, if at all. Why does it feel so confusing? Confidence, control, attack, threat, a rigid defense system. The confidence looks real. The control looks like strength, but confidence that can't survive being questioned, and control that treats disagreement as danger. That's not stability. That's a defense system, running the same script every time reality gets too close. Here's what we'll break down: formation, the science, and self-protection. How this forms, what the science says, and why it works as self-protection. 3 different things. Traits can be normal. Behavior can harm. A personality disorder is stable. They are not the same thing. A trait, like confidence or ambition, can be completely normal. A behavior, like manipulation, can cause real harm. And a personality disorder is something else again. A fixed, lasting pattern across someone's entire life. Mixing these up is where most confusion starts. Why does this distinction matter? Because it's not one bad moment. It's a repeated pattern, organized around grandiosity, admiration, control, and avoiding shame at almost any cost. How does it form? Not one cause, a system of causes. Not trauma alone, not parenting alone, not genetics alone. A system of causes, layering on top of each other over years. Sensitivity is not destiny. People are not born narcissists. The environment teaches the strategy. Some children are born more sensitive, more reactive to shame. But it's the environment around that sensitivity that teaches which strategy keeps a child safe. Path 1. Overvaluation. You are special. The rules do not apply. Admiration is expected, and there's no accountability. The child is told directly or not that they are above the normal rules. Mistakes are excused before they're even examined. And without accountability, a child never learns that other people's needs are real too. Path 2. Conditional love. Worth equals performance. Grades and appearance. Talent and obedience. Success and family image. Worth is never just given. It has to be earned every time. The child learns a brutal equation early. I am loved for what I perform, not for who I am underneath it. Grandiosity can become armor. Inside, shame. Outside, superior, confident, untouchable. On the inside, the feeling of being fundamentally not enough. On the outside, someone who looks untouchable. The armor isn't the personality, it's the cover. Self-esteem versus regulation. Healthy self-esteem is an internal battery. Narcissistic regulation is an external charger. Healthy self-esteem holds its charge even when no one's watching. Narcissistic regulation only holds a charge when it's plugged into someone else's attention. The defense system does not excuse harm. Shame becomes superiority. Insecurity becomes control. Emptiness becomes a need for attention. Criticism becomes attack. Accountability becomes blame. Vulnerability becomes dominance. None of this excuses the harm it causes. It just explains where it's coming from. The relationship cycle. Idealization. Mirroring. Dependency. Not every intense start is manipulation, but slowly you become the mirror. Your interests, your values, even your personality start reflecting back at you. Then dependency sets in, and slowly, without noticing, you stop being a person to them. When reality enters, a boundary appears. The mirror cracks, and feedback feels like humiliation. The moment you disagree, set a limit, or need something for yourself, ordinary feedback starts landing like humiliation. Devaluation protects the mask. If you are the problem, they do not have to look inward. If you are too sensitive, they do not have to care about their impact. Devaluation isn't really about you. It's about avoiding what your feedback would mean. The trap. You manage their ego. You lose your center. Choosing words carefully. Avoiding certain topics. Predicting reactions before they happen. Slowly, you lose your center, trying to keep theirs intact. More explaining does not always create clarity. Sometimes your truth threatens the defense system. The clearer and more honest your truth is, the more it threatens a system built to avoid exactly that truth. Do not try to win inside their frame. Exit the frame. Return to facts and boundaries. Inside their frame, you can't win. The rules shift to protect them. Every time. Boundary scripts stop feeding the system. Facts, not insults. I will not debate my character. That does not work for me. I am not available for this dynamic. I will respond when it's respectful. You don't have to explain, defend, or convince someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. Keep it short, calm, and repeatable. The goal isn't to win the argument. It's to step out of a cycle that was never designed to be fair. Nothing here is trying to change them. It's protecting your peace, your clarity, and your energy. Once you understand that, it's important to recognize that intensity is not intimacy. Real intimacy includes accountability, repair, empathy, and boundaries. It looks much quieter than intensity. It shows up as accountability when something goes wrong, repair that actually changes behavior, empathy that remains even when it's inconvenient, and respect that doesn't disappear during conflict. Chaos can feel exciting, but excitement isn't the same as emotional safety. Healthy relationships don't rely on constant emotional highs and lows to feel meaningful. To keep yourself grounded, document reality instead of relying on memory alone. What happened? What was said? What changed? What repeated? Write it down while it's still fresh. Save messages if necessary. Patterns are easy to gaslight in the moment, much harder to erase on paper. Looking back at your own records helps separate facts from confusion and reminds you that recurring behavior is rarely just a misunderstanding. Consistency tells a clearer story than isolated incidents ever can. At the same time, remember that compassion and boundaries serve different purposes. Compassion explains the origin. Boundaries decide the present. Understanding where someone's behavior comes from can help you make sense of it, but it doesn't obligate you to tolerate it. You can acknowledge someone's pain without accepting harm. You can have empathy without abandoning yourself. Understanding the past doesn't require reopening the door, repeating the cycle, or sacrificing your own well-being. Ultimately, this is not just about protecting your ego. It's about staying connected to reality. Focus on boundaries, pattern recognition, behavior over potential. Pay attention to what people consistently do, not only what they promise they'll become. You are not responsible for regulating someone else's emotions or proving your worth over and over again. You are not their emotional mirror. And even when someone's behavior comes from pain, harm still requires boundaries. As a final recognition check, pay attention to what happens when limits appear. Watch how they respond to criticism. Notice how they treat people they cannot use, impress, or control. Pay attention to whether repair follows harm, or whether apologies are simply another way to reset the cycle. And notice what happens when their ego is challenged. Those moments often reveal far more than the calm periods ever will. In the next video, We'll look at grandiose versus vulnerable narcissism and why they look nothing alike.